Hey guys, welcome back. Today's video is going to be a mixture of plants and things I'm currently loving, as well as just some random growth updates because things are growing. Spring is kind of creeping in here in Vancouver, and it's actually kind of amazing what happens when you actually water your plants. While I am still really behind on plant chores, I am staying on top of the watering, which is step one in maintaining your anthurium collection. I do have time set aside later this afternoon before I have to go out to an event to kind of organize what's going to be restocked. Actually, this week when this video goes out is going to be on Wednesday, March 11th. I'll leave the details of the restock in the description, but I will be mentioning it throughout the video just so there's no confusion. But I do have quite an ambitious list of plants I want to list for this restock because some of these seedlings that I'm growing aren't seedlings anymore and they're actually flowering size now. So I just don't have the space anymore. So I have time set aside after I finish filming to get all that kind of squared away. But anyway, I wanted to start with some plants that I am loving right now with some new growth that some plants you haven't seen in a while, some plants you've seen recently, but I wanted to give you an update. Last week in my tent cleanup video, I showed you my Dark Phoenix King of Spades. This one right here, it had a new leaf. And this new leaf has expanded a bit and it's looking so King of Spadesy. And in that video, I said this is the only one I plan on keeping. That was a lie. I totally forgot that I had one downstairs in my Mills book cabinet that looks so different. I wanted to show you them side by side. But first of all, this one was the one I had designated as a keeper right from the start because it had grown out a leaf maybe when it was about this big and it was so spidery and round. I'll put a photo, I guess, here of one of the older leaves. Maybe it was like the 5th leaf in or something. And it was just so beautiful. It was so heart-shaped, very spidery, thin veins, and it was really dark. And as it's matured, it's gotten a little bit more veiny, but it's still very clean and beautiful. But then this one I've been growing in my Millsville cabinet. I don't know when you would have last seen it. This one really does need a repot. Look at these roots. Like this one got into a 5-inch pot a couple months ago and it's already needing a repot. So this one's like 2 repots late. This one's had on and off problems with pests inside the cabinet. I've gotten thrips in there. I've gotten some sort of maybe spider mites or something. You can really see some old mite damage on the older leaves. The newest leaf is not perfect, but not so bad. But I really wanted to show you this one because it's looking so much like Dark Phoenix in the last 2 leaves especially. It's got the pointy ears coming out. It's got that Dark Phoenix shape, maybe just a little bit wider with a little bit more visible venation. But just to show you these two side by side, these are the ones I actually plan on keeping. This one for sure for the long term. This one maybe I'll let go of, but I'm not in a hurry to. Especially now it's a size where it's like difficult to ship. So I don't know if like it's worth trying to ship this thing. But I just thought it was so interesting to look at these two brand new leaves side by side. They're stablings of the same batch. This one is so King of Spades heavy and this one is quite Dark Phoenix heavy. I'd given plants from this batch when they were just little seedlings. I'd given one to Matt at Cataphill on Instagram and also Nick and Corbin at XC Plants. And they're much more diligent growers than I am. So they've been keeping up with the watering and the uppotting and things like that. So I just wanted to show you if I can find, this is what Matt's looks like right now. I think his is quite a nice balance between the two. It's not really like very far leaning either King of Spades or Dark Phoenix, and it's freaking huge. And this one is Nick and Corbin's, which I think is quite King of Spades leaning, but in a minimal way. It's just like a little bit rounder overall, but really dark. So this one probably has another leaf after this one before I'll actually repot it. So hopefully it keeps sizing up, and I would love if it just kept up this really round shape with the spidery veins. And I'm so pleased with the red emergent leaf color on it. And then this one I will be repotting at some point. I'm just not in a huge hurry because I'm pretty sure it has kind of stalled at this size. I highly doubt the next leaf will be any bigger than this one because of how root bound it is. And because it lives in my Mills book cabinet, I don't have the space for it to get much bigger than this. So I'm not desperate for it to be repotted. Speaking of King of Spades, my King of Spades that I got from Charmaine that she didn't want anymore has finally put out a new leaf, and look how round it is. This one was her original King of Spades that we had imported together. So the same batch as my King of Spades, which would have been like beginning of 2021, I think. I think hers was even slower growing than mine and maybe even a little bit more finicky. When I got it from her, it had rotted off its apical growth points. So I don't know if you can see right here is where the top cataphyll would have been. That died, and so this popped up off of an axillary bud. So maybe from this angle you can kind of see this is off to the side of the original stem. I repotted it into tree fern perlite, and it's like really filled out the pot. It's kind of algae ridden in here, but it's super, super full of fat roots, and it's definitely been slow, but at least it's growing. And I'm very pleased to see that there's no visible pest damage on here. There's little kind of like white shiny bits that's like kind of mucilage from the leaf, so if I wash it, it would just kind of come right off. There's no damage on it, and it's a little wonky but in kind of a charming way. Hopefully you can kind of see that the veins are quite pink. Maybe I'll just get up to the camera. I don't think it's showing up pink, but it's quite pink all the way down to roughly close to the margin. And then my original King of Spades, which has been so ugly for over a year, has finally put out a new leaf, but it just emerged from the caterpillar. So there's nothing to show right now, but I'm going to be just surrounded by fat King of Spades leaves very soon, and I could not be more thrilled about that. Next plant is kind of random in that it's a Hoya. This plant lives on my living room shelf, like the open shelf behind my dining table, and it's the only Hoya that I care about. I have two Hoya in my house. One is a Yves Rocheri that I plan on selling. I just haven't gotten around to it, and it started growing, so it's kind of long now. And then this one, which I love. My variegated compacta is looking so cute lately. It still has mealybugs, which is a shame, and I have just treated it, but I'm just double checking to see that these mealies are dead. Yeah, I haven't been very diligent on the mealy treatments, but it hasn't completely taken over the plant. I just need to be a little bit more on top of like spraying it down and stuff. But I think this is the plant, the only plant on my shelf that has mealies. So it's in my best interest to keep it that way by staying on top of alcohol sprays. I don't think I've shown this plant to you since I repotted it into this little like candle vessel, and that might have been like almost a year ago. So it's grown a little bit since then. The latest leaves have been fully white, which is a little bit concerning, but it still continues to grow. So this is one plant but two growth points. I originally had this as two plants, and one of the reasons why it's special to me is because this was during, I think it was in 2020, actually was in 2020, and then everyone was just desperately buying plants off each other on Facebook because the stores were closed and like things weren't getting shipped. There was someone who was selling variegated compacta, and they had two just little nubbins like this, and had gotten to the post too late, so I'd already sold, and I was all sad about it. But then my friend was like, oh, actually got it for you, and he dropped it off for me, and it was just so sweet. So this plant will forever be quite special to me. On top of that, it's the only Hoya that I think is just stunning, and it doesn't grow in such a way that it's annoying. I guess the only annoying thing about it is a very Hoya problem, the mealybugs, but other than that, it's just, I think it's so beautiful. Like I'll never tire of the Hoya compacta, like the regular green form, this form, any of the variegated forms. So I just wanted to show this to you, and I will always forever be looking for another trailing stem to put into this pot. I really want a full trailing basket of variegated compacta. So overall, it started out as a nubbin like this with just a single growth point, and this is maybe 6 years of growth. So it's slow going, but I think it's so worth it. And it's no wonder that this ends up being a lot of people's heirloom plants. So I just like picture myself as like a 80-year-old woman with like a decades old Hoya compacta that I can pass on to somebody else in the future. Okay, this next plant is just an overall collection favorite, and you saw this in last week's video, but I wanted to give you an update on the new leaf because oh, it's so dreamy. This is my Midnight Velvet, and this is what it was looking like before I repotted it. So it was in this same pot, or same size pot, I should say, and it was in a mixture of sea soil, tree fern, which it didn't like, and it was yellowing a lot, and I don't think I let it fully dried out. I had been advised that Midnight Velvet tends to like it a little swampier than other Anthurium. So the roots were fine, but there was something about the mix that was angering the plant, and the newest leaf was super stunted. This is actually the newest one, and it just grew to this size and it stopped, and it's like super yellow and gross looking. And on top of that, it had been putting out like 4 puffs, which I removed. So overall, I have 5 props of this plant growing off on the side, and then I repotted it into just tree fern and DIY pond mix. There's a leculae at the bottom so I can keep a little bit of a reservoir in it, and then it has bounced back with this leaf, and it's just finally looking like a proper Midnight Velvet again. I have missed this plant looking pretty so badly. This was such an eyesore to me because I love this plant, and this is exactly what it's supposed to look like. Like look at this curl at the bottom. This twist is so like perfect midnight velvet little leaf tip twist. The lobes are so pointy and the sinus is nice and wide, and that hot pink. Hopefully you can see on the back, kind of, that it's like a really dark purpley pink. I just could not be more thrilled with this leaf. And I will, I think, have one prop ready for the restock. Of the 5, I think I have 5 props. One's going to Jing, one is looking like a little bit bigger. I just have to double check the roots that it's shipping ready, and the others are just a little bit too small right now. So hopefully later in the spring or early summer. This would have been a selfling of the original Midnight Velvet plant, and I don't really know the lore too much. I was talking about this with Hoffmanni High, when he was here, when we were sharing a booth for the Secret Plant Show, and he was telling me all like the Australian plant lore. And he was saying that the vast majority of Midnight Velvets out in circulation are selflings of the original Midnight Velvet plant. And I know it wasn't documented what exactly went into the cross, but I'm assuming one was selected and called Midnight Velvet, which does explain like the variability of what I've seen. Like some plants don't have quite as, they have more upright lobes than this one. This one always has quite wide. I'll put a photo of Owen's here. This plant is a clone of Owen's, and his has really wide sinus. Mine kind of comes and goes, but you can see on this leaf, it's really, really wide. And I'm forever grateful that Owen shared it with me, because I think this one, when I originally put it on my wish list, I was going off of other pictures, and this one's even better than those ones. It's definitely not a walk in the park to grow, but when it does put out a nice leaf like this, and especially if like you can keep it healthy and all the leaves look like this, it is so worth it. It's just like, I think it's my favorite anthurium in my collection, to be honest. Like it might be more favorited than the Carlas. Don't hold me to that, but I really, really genuinely love this plant so much, and it's worth the headache. Next, I wanted to show you an update on a little seedling I had gotten from Pau and Josh. Okay, but first of all, this is what I mean by plants getting too big. Like they're not seedlings anymore. This is not the plant, by the way, but look at this. They're all getting scrunched against each other, and they're hitting the bin lids. I have one bin that is like the taller IKEA bin, like leaves hitting the top of that. It is definitely a problem. Okay, so the plant I wanted to show you is this one, which really needs a repot. But this one is FTG Self by Carla Soul Reaper. And it's a little bit hard to show you, but maybe if I just like flatten the leaf out a little bit, you can kind of see how wide that sinus is. Look at the previous leaves. It's really dagger-like. And I really like this plant because I remember the Carla Soul from IAS that was at Homebody booth. It was from Tazula. I'll see if I can find a photo or footage of it. It was just like a show-stopping plant at the Homebody booth. I just loved it so much, and I was so glad that Pau got it. And then the FTG Self as the mother plant is a very nice wide flat sinus FTG Self. And so this one I feel like is really promising in terms of the sinus, and it's just looking like a very minimally veined dark, very similar to the FTG. It's been in this pot for like probably 9 months, so I really need to up-pot it. It's interesting because if you can see the roots, they're really quite thin roots, and I don't know like which of the parents that takes after. I don't think that Carla Soul Reaper would have skinny roots like this, but at least the roots are super healthy. I have definitely let this fully dry out a number of times, so I'm actually quite surprised that these skinny little roots haven't died off. But I definitely do need to repot it so it continues upsizing, so I think it's going to kind of stall here too. I will have room in my tent after I organize my restock plants, so that is the plan for this plant. And then I wanted to give you an update on what I'm calling Carla Wu 1 S2. So my Carla Wu 1 Self, I was using it as pollen to pollinate Carla. My brain just malfunctioned. The Forgettii Carla, Charmaine's plant. I was going to pollinate her plant with my Carla Wu 1 Self pollen. I've told this story so many times before, but as the story goes, the Forgettii Carla was receptive, and it was receptive for a number of days, and I was really worried that I was going to miss the window. Meanwhile, I'm waiting for my Carla to open and go into pollen. So the Carla was receptive, and it was receptive for such a short period of time. I recall it being about 2 days, and then on the second to third day, some pollen started to appear at the bottom of the spadix, but the top half of the spadix was still sticky. So immediately I grabbed the pollen, like as I do with my fingers, and I pulled it up like this. and I put it on the Forgetii Carla. And that Forgetii Carla did successfully pollinate, but the seedlings were too weak, so we didn't do anything with the seedlings. But then in doing this with the pollen on the Carla, it started to swell, it started turning green, and then it produced berries. So I didn't intentionally pollinate it with anything else except for pulling the pollen, its own pollen, from the bottom of the spadix upwards. So it stands to reason that it was selfed. So I'm calling it that, and I'm monitoring it to see if like it does show traits of a pure Carla. So anyway, with all that said, they probably could be bigger than this, but I haven't been very good at watering it in the past. I am better in the last month, but this is what some of them are looking like. It does look like Carla. It has a square petiole. They're like short, red and square. Here's another one that got a little bit dried out. I just watered it today, but here's another one. This one had put out a new leaf, but I'm pretty sure it's gonna stay this big because when I found it, it was fully dried out. So oopsies. So yeah, I just show you these three together here. This one has interesting pink veins, but I have a feeling this is going to harden off at this size. Here's another one that's a little bit bigger but got underwatered, so it's dropping a leaf. Here's another one that looks quite weird. Like, look at the veins on this one. It looks spray painted and smudged. It's so weirdly silver across the top. And I know it doesn't look healthy right now, but it has two big fat juicy roots coming out here. So I will keep this. I'm not going to sell it, and I will see how it grows out. It does look strange to me. I'm not saying it looks strange in a good way. Just looks kind of strange. I will be letting go of some of these, but only like the healthy ones. And I should mention that this restock is going to be like good deals, like price to sell, because we are desperate to make some room. So it's not one of those situations where like, oh, I could sell, but I'm happy to keep it too. Like, I need to make some room. And speaking of making room, here is one of the biggest Carla Beveps that I will be listing on. It's not perfect, but I wanted to show this to you because it's the first one that is flowering. This started coming out a few days ago, and I was shocked. Like, it just seems like yesterday that I was harvesting these seeds and I was so excited about this batch. And now we've got flowering size specimens. I don't really often get updates from you guys who have bought these plants from this batch specifically. I mean, there's a few of you that update me frequently, and I love that, but I don't know like kind of what they look like so much. I know I'm not often on Instagram anymore, but I will check it every now and then. I'm just not really in my DMs, but I do see the story mentions. I'm really just trying to get a little bit more like disciplined about my social media consumption and not be like mindlessly going to it, like almost as an impulse. So I'm trying to like break that habit and then just go intentionally and then spend some intentional time on social media and then like get off. But that said, I would love to see updates from you guys, especially if your plants are flowering, if you're breeding with them. I mean, none of them would be of a size that is ready to be a mother plant, but maybe if you're collecting pollen using on something else. But anyway, that said, this one will be for sale at the restock. I cleaned up some old leaves in the last video, and this one's not beautiful, so it will be priced as such, but it is like, it's got good bones. It's just been nicked and there's like little holes in it and stuff, but it's the potential is there. It's a pretty plant. It's really dark. It's flowering. It just needs a little bit more TLC and a lot more space to grow. Okay, the last update is not even a plant. They are these little bowls. So I actually made these bowls in January and we just got them back. So my boyfriend just really knocked it out of the park this Christmas with the Christmas presents. So he signed us up for like a 1-day wheel throwing pottery class, and the intention is for us to try it and then like sign up for like the full six class or whatever it is. And we did this at Vancouver Ceramics, and they're not well done or anything. And this, I wasn't even trying to make bowls. I really wanted to make straight-sided cups, and then bowls just kept coming out. In hindsight, I know exactly what I did wrong and I know what to do going forward. It was just like a really fun evening. And so this one was the first one I did with the instructor, like step by step, like show you what to do. Everybody does the same thing and then you move on together into the next step. And so it's a little bit more like kind of even, I guess, but it wasn't supposed to be a bowl. It's not perfectly round and the edges aren't perfect, and like here it's not flat, but you know what? it will work for the purpose that I'm going to use it for. The second one was like what remained of the class. So it was like, you guys just like take this clay and go for it. And we only had like 15 minutes or something. And so this is like quite awful. It's so thick right here. The bottom, there's like a big bulge right here. It's just like, it's got all these weird ridges. Basically what happened was like, I had this clay, I was trying to remember the steps, and then she was like, 10 minutes before we have to clean up, and then I just started like potting from the heart, and from the heart resulted in this. So the plan is to use these for plants because I actually have been looking for kind of a shallow bowl type thing anyways. I want one of them to be for carnivorous plants, so I just don't know quite what yet. My Pinguicula is a goner, and my Drosera is also a goner. So I will maybe see if Charmaine has another prop of her Drosera, or maybe I'll just run to the garden center and get one. And depending on the size, I'll put it in lava rock in one of these two. And the other one, I'd like to use it for a kokedama. So that one is not quite as urgent because I don't know exactly what plant I want to do a kokedama in. I don't want a plant that grows too fast. So I definitely don't want to do an aroid, but maybe an orchid, like an easy orchid or something. This might actually be better for the carnivorous plant because it just holds more water. And then maybe this one can be a little dish for a small little kokedama with, I'm leaning towards orchid, but also I am not good at growing orchids. So I know there are some orchid, dare I say, experts in the comments. Please let me know what would be a good orchid for me to kokedama and put in here. I'm not in a hurry to fill these up, but I will be signing up for the 6-week class because I really do want to make certain ceramics like cups. I've been watching so much Florian Gatsby, and he's such a good teacher and very methodical and explains things really well. So I think like going into the next class, I will know what to do much better. Actually, I forgot. Another option for the kokedama is a little tree that would be slow growing, fairly kind of indoor tolerant, and something I could kind of bonsai and wire and train at the same time would be really fun too. And when I actually do it, I'll do it on camera. So if you have any ideas on what I could plant, please let me know. And that brings us to the end of the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this little favorite / growth updates video. I hope that your weekend has been lovely so far. I hope that spring is coming your way as well. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Mwah.